and it's lights out.
Welcome back to another episode of Drive Thru Penalty. I'm Sean. I'm here with my father, Craig. We're going to be covering last week's race in Imola, this week's race in Monaco, some F1 news, and as always, some F1 history with Craig.
I put 2 pounds on. The food was good.
Food is good.
You know what else was good? I thought the race was better than we expected it to be, because we talked about no passing at Imola, and wouldn't you know it, the first corner, is we might have hinted at a week ago, was crazy. And that might be one of the best passes I've ever seen. That Max going around the outside and then coming up through the inside. And Piastri could have fought him off, but Piastri being in the lead, I think, is very comfortable if he has to come in second. I think that was, if he came second every race and Max won every race, it would get very close at the end. So I don't think he did bow out. And he admitted to it. And would Max have bowed out? I don't think so. That could be the big difference moving towards the end of the year. But overall, it was an enjoyable experience, and the qualifying was top drawer and tears shed all through the stands.
Oh, yeah.
With Ferrari coming 11th and 12th. And anyways, I enjoyed it, and we're off to another beauty this week.
We sure are. Let's jump right into the Monaco GP. Monaco, the jewel of the F1 calendar. This year, it's more than glitz and glamour. It was a battle for a championship. 78 laps, 1 DRS zone, very little room for error. One mistake, you're in the wall. One gamble that pays off could mean you're a champion this week.
It also seems to be the race that it's a love or hate relationship with fandom, because I agree, it's a spectacle. And it's kind of like when you hear the music at the Masters, you know, the golf season's arrived. And when you see all those buildings in Monaco and that up the hill straightaway and everything, you know where you are, and it's Monaco. So to me, that is also the pinnacle. But there's a lot of people complaining that the cars are big now and the cars can't pass and it's a boring race. But I don't think there's... Last year, I think when Leclerc won, there was no changing of positions. The top 8 cars came in as the top 8 cars because there isn't passing. But with some weather, and you never know what's going to happen. Anyways, I'm looking forward to it. It's my favorite.
This might be a good week to use your Limitless chip, because if you know the top 5 drivers that are going to finish the race in that order, you might want to use those guys on your team.
My only concern about that, Sean, is that there's calling for some rain. And rain on that track, the top elite, the rain drivers aren't necessarily the same guys that are the dry pavement drivers, and either of the cars. So you're taking a little risk there. I don't know. I mean...
No, you're absolutely right. And that's why I'm even considering using the no negative chip, because...
Yeah, I used mine.
If there is any rain this week, I can guarantee you, I'm going to say 4 rookies DNF this week again.
Good call, because we know how good they've been in the rain.
Charles Leclerc, the hometown hero. He broke the curse finally in 2024. Can he do it again? Does he have the car this year to do it again?
Not a chance.
Not a chance?
Not a chance in hell.
Okay.
I do think he can.
You know what? Charles knows that track like the back of his hand, so...
You think Lewis Hamilton doesn't know the track? You think Max Verstappen doesn't know the track?
So Craig obviously doesn't think so. I think regardless of the car he's in this year, he's still going to put an amazing qualifying lap in. He's going to be in Q3. I still think you'll see him at the top of the board, but hey, this guy laughed at me last week when I spoke about Charles, and I have no argument this week for it, so we'll see.
If he wins pole position, he'll probably win the race. I just don't see him winning pole position.
Who do you see winning pole position this week?
I've got to, I'm the Piastri guy. I think Max Verstappen will win because I think he is hands down the best driver on the planet right now. Now, does that give Hamilton a chance? If the car is decent, Hamilton has a chance. Otherwise, the 2 fast cars that are still McLaren. But I don't know how much that quickness of the car, I don't know how much of a difference that makes at Monaco.
Yeah, I think Mercedes is going to come off strong this week. I think Antonelli has a little redeeming to do after last week's race in Imola. I think he's going to put up a quick lap time. But again, I'm pretty hesitant on the rookies this week, and I don't know how it's going to play out for them.
So earlier, Sean and I were talking before we started this about the intricacies of racing at Monaco. And it's not all about the speed. It's actually picking exact spots on every corner. And it's dangerous for these guys. We saw what happened last week with a horrific crash. The guy got up and walked away. So I'm not in fear of anybody losing their lives here. But boy, oh boy, it's easy to crash and burn and you're out of the race.
We're going to take you for a lap in a little bit, and we'll talk about, braking zones and things you're looking out for on the circuit. It's an extremely technical circuit, one of the most challenging I find. It's not the quickest, but they're the most gear changes throughout the lap, and it's a tough one.
Okay, what we were talking about earlier, Sean, then I have one final question for you. What do you think's more important this weekend, or what's going to be more exciting this weekend at Monaco? The race or the qualifying?
Hands down, the qualifying. They're not stuck in a traffic jam. Each driver has the chance of a completely wide open circuit. They're going to be flying. They're going to be scraping the wall. It's going to be nuts. I think the race is going to be good, but the qualifying is really where you get to see the talent. So before we wrap it up, top 3 this week.
Well, I'm going to deviate from my usual, and I'm going to pick Max because, as I stated earlier, I think he's the best driver in the world, and that's usually who qualifies first there. And then I'm going to take Piastri. And I think there's something going on. Something's going to change. And I wouldn't be completely surprised if a Williams car got in there.
Oh, I would love to see that. So we have Max, Oscar, who's number 3?
Carlos Albon.
Carlos Albon. I like this trend. This is kind of cool. Okay. Carlos Albon 3.
How about you?
Okay, well, I think, boring, Oscar Piastri again. I think Max Verstappen is going to be number 2, and my boy Charles number 3.
Okay, Sean, then why don't you take us for a lap? Show us the corners.
Let's do it.
All right, carrying some speed along the straight, open DRS, looking for that braking zone. Tough first corner. Long uphill climb. Finding our way through all the gears here. Through Massenet into Casino. Avoiding this bunker on the left. Getting as close here to the wall as possible. Carrying as much minimum speed as we can. All the way down to first or second gear. Trying to clip that inside curb. Down to second gear. Through the famous tunnel. This is the longest exit on the track. Flat out all the way up to 7th gear. Look for that little 100-meter board on the right. All the way down to second gear. Back up to third. Getting as close to the wall as possible here. Maximizing our track position. Again, carrying as much speed here as we can. Downshifting. Tough final corner here. And just finding ourselves here. Open DRS again, and that is a lap at Monaco.
Okay, Sean. Well, thanks for the quick lap. That should probably put you in the top 20 on the grid.
As you can see, it's a tricky circuit. You got to master those corners. Fast, it's slow, it's got everything.
I wouldn't let you take my car on that one.
That wraps up Monaco this week. Grab your notepads. It's time for everybody's favorite segment, History with CD.
Well, we're not wrapped up with Monaco because actually my history lesson this week is going to be on Monaco. Not individual, the track itself, but like how everything came to be. And Monaco itself is a very small principality, and there's only one smaller in the world, and that's the Vatican. So Monaco around the mid-1800s got a casino and a hotel and built a rail to Paris. And it completely changed what was happening in Monaco. Monaco was almost broke. The royal family, everybody, there was just nothing going on. And that changed everything. It's also got the wealthiest population in the world, and it's mainly made up with Formula One drivers, celebrities, and the Monegasques were the people that were born there. Unfortunately, one of the things it's known for is money laundering, and it's to this day their officials do everything they can. It's right down to terrorists. There's no taxes, there's no transferring, there's no following of anything there. As far as car racing goes, in 1929, in the European Championship, Monaco had its first race. They had a couple of races after that, but all through the 40s, because of lack of funding and that, they really didn't have any more races. In 1950, when they had a race, you've all heard of Juan Fangio, the Argentinian, and he had his first victory that he ever had was at Monaco. In 1955, Formula One arrived, and if you heard last week on the broadcast, that was the 75th anniversary of Formula One. It was actually last week's race, which was the 75th anniversary, but it just shows you it's 75 years since Monaco was formed with Formula One. Monaco in the 60s, the race was probably, Graham Hill had 5 wins, and it was gaining notoriety. In the 1970s, Jackie Stewart started to do so many things to improve the safety of the track. So if you can imagine in 1970, when you had a race in Monaco through the streets, the only preparation they did for the race was to remove the cars from the sides of the street. If you went off, you could hit a house. If you went off, you could hit a barn. I mean, so what he did was slowly but surely he started putting these Armco barriers in. And he started with one corner and he did another area because there was resistance everywhere he went. Finally, in the early 70s, they dumped a couple of cars in the Mediterranean, which Sean and I actually had to see one of them last year at the F1 Experience. I don't know where you people are if you've had a chance to see that, but that was one of the coolest things. They actually had the red, was it a Brabham? I'm not sure, but the car was, I think it had dried out by then, but right after that, that's when Stewart finally got the Armco barriers near the water, and by 1972, everything was protected. In the 80s, there was only 2 racers that won, but Ayrton Senna had the most, and he had 6 victories. And I think you can Google on YouTube Ayrton Senna's lap at Monaco, and it's just unbelievable. So in the old days, they used to have qualifying on the Thursday and the race on the Saturday. And Friday, they used to allow the cars to get around where they had to go, the people that live there. Now with the full schedule, F2 and all that stuff, I think they had last week, it takes them 6 weeks that they have to shut this down. And it takes them 6 weeks to get the whole area race prepared. Nelson Piquet, he was successful at Monaco. And he said 1 win at Monaco is like 2 wins anywhere else. The other interesting thing he said, to try and explain what it's like, he said it was like riding your bicycle around your living room. There's only been 2 Monegasque winners at the Monaco race. And one of them was before Formula One, and it was the first one. And his name was Louis Chiron, who was very instrumental in getting car racing. He did it with the Prince. They both agreed, and they set up with the circuit and everything. And he was important in the whole development of that. And then last year, Charles Leclerc, who was born and raised there, he won it. So those are the only 2. So Monaco is the jewel of Formula One racing. It's also part of the Triple Crown, which is the Monaco Grand Prix. It's the Indy 500, and it's the Le Mans 24 hours. It is one of the most important and prestigious events in Formula One.
Another awesome segment. Thanks a lot, CD, for that. And that's why I love Monaco. I hope you guys learned a lot. I did. It's going to be awesome. So before we jump into the Fantasy Formula One segment, I gotta say, he's been dying for me to tell you, he's made it to the top 1% in the world, and it's pretty impressive. He's moved his way up the ranks every week. I'm still climbing, but he's going to be tough to catch this year.
On that note, Sean has, remember, he started at the bottom and he's worked his way up. I mean, you're almost in the top 10 now. So he knows what he's doing. It's just one horrible week kills you. But so he's going to take a few minutes and show you poolies out there, maybe some of the options that you have this weekend in Monaco. Good luck.
All right, so welcome back to the F1 Fantasy segment of this video. We're going to quickly go over our team, changes that we're going to make, smart moves going into Monaco, how you want to structure your team again. For me, it's still so early in the season. Budget building is always important to me. We obviously don't want to forget about points. They are important, and I think we can scoop those up along the way. So this is our team from last week. It wasn't a great week. Again, we planned for budget building. We still plan for points. Some things just didn't go our way, and that's fantasy Formula One. But looking forward into Monaco, a couple things to consider. Some of you might be interested in using a chip this week. There's a few to consider. Obviously, Limitless, of course, is one that a lot of big F1 fantasy guys are talking about. The reason for this is because we expect the way the race starts is the way the race is going to finish. So if you have those top drivers and they're able to qualify good, they're probably going to finish podium plus 4, 5, 6, which is obviously good for your Limitless team. Another chip to consider using this weekend is your final fix. So that being said, if your hypothetical situation, your 2 times driver is Max Verstappen, he doesn't qualify good because it's raining and he gets into trouble, you can final fix him, use your chip, and switch him in for somebody who's maybe finished pole or second or third, because you're going to score a lot more points with them. The last chip to look at this weekend is no negative. And again, looking at the weather, it's not going to be great qualifying. Who knows what it's going to be like on Sunday? It looks like it's going to clear up, but you never know. Something to think about. So looking at our team right here, we got to figure out what we're going to do with our 2 moves. Immediately, I'm drawn to dropping Stroll because he frees up $9.5 million on my team. I know some of you guys might have him as well. And looking at Isaac Hadjar, he was good for the last few races prior to Italy and the US, and I just don't think he's cutting it at the moment. I'm going to drop him as well, and my budget is now currently sitting at $15.5 million. So that's a decent amount to work with. We're going to head on over to F1 Fantasy Tools. We're going to use the budget building section of this app to figure out who are good pickups this week. Who needs to score points to increase the max amount, 0.6 million, 0.2 million, etc., etc. So just looking over here, top contenders for this right now, Nico Hülkenberg, Pierre Gasly, Franco Colapinto. This is good. We already have Colapinto. We have 2 free spots open right now. We can probably squeeze these 2 in. And it looks like Hülkenberg is only going to need 5 points this week to increase the max 0.6 million. And even with a -1 finish this week, he's still going to go up in value. So I like Nico this week. Looking at Pierre Gasly, he's looking a lot stronger. 7 points for the max increase. If he finishes even, he still increases by 0.2 million. So I think that's kind of what we're going to lean to. Of course, we're going to watch FP1, 2, and 3, and we'll ultimately make our decision right before qualifying. So back over here to our team, we are going to put Pierre Gasly in our Hadjar spot, and we are going to put Nico Hülkenberg in, and we still have $1.7 million. So pretty happy with this team. Red Bull, could be an option if you're looking at dropping Mercedes. Ferrari is also still up there, but again, for budget building and where we're at in the season, I know a lot of you are also in a very similar position. This is a pretty solid team.
Thanks for the info, Sean. I hope you guys and ladies can put this to good use.
Thanks again, guys, for tuning in this week. We really appreciate you. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. It'd mean a lot to us.
Sean, we're in the Principality.